You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up.
Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life.
It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back!
Does anybody else want to stay?
Let's ride!
It's 7:01. Good evening, everybody. We're back for a new week. It's May 4th. We're back for a new month. Although we were on the air with each other on May 1st. Special Friday night. Got a lot off my chest on Friday night. I feel like I'm free to say anything, and the cat is out of the bag. So that's all it is. I couldn't even really do a proper real, a joy scroll on the flip side, because, lately there's been a whole bunch of pregnancy stuff that's been popping up on my my Instagram in between all of the horrific memes. It's a little bit of horror and a little bit of new life delight. But now it doesn't matter what happens, because everybody knows, and we'll continue to let everybody know, because apparently the more you go live, the more your channel is deranked. You see, I was told that by a channel auditor. So I need a little bit more help with this particular project I'm working on to resurrect the channel, because I know how the internet has changed. So you're gonna have to do triple the amount of shorts to be able to offset the live streaming you do, because that's just the way it is. I see, all right, I get it. That's what we were going for anyway. So, but I don't care. What am I gonna do? Stop doing the show so that people could find the show? I can't do that, unfortunately, because it makes no sense. So I should say fortunately, because I would not want to be anywhere else but here at 7 o'clock on a weeknight, hanging out with you guys and gals. And I've got Keto Brainz winners for you guys. I'll do that in the second half. We've got a grand prize winner, and it looks like 3 runners up. Molly just picked 3 runners up as well. We'll do that in the second half, because 4 of you are going to be very happy with this. And we've got KrisAnne Hall popping on in a few minutes. Haven't seen her. This is the first time we've spoken to her in 2026. Is it? It may be. We're getting really long here. It's five months in now, so we might have spoken to people. I just forgot about it. As far as the Super Chat raffles this week goes, support the show in any way you can. And at the end of the week, on Thursday night, I'm going to be giving away 3 gold backs from Quite Frankly Gold. So we're back to giving away gold this week. I've also got the latest edition of Flip City Magazine, America's Last Laugh. You can find them on the affiliates page. Wonderful. You want print comedy that is ruthless and amazing, harkens back to Better Than Mad Magazine. We got that. I'm going to, for tonight, I'm going to just, take the names. I'm going to snap a Polaroid in a little bit. And also, we have our first business, Quite Frankly business out there, unboxing. This came to the P.O. box from our good friend Dean out there. He and his wife, they've got a brand new company. They do all tallow products and stuff. I said, hey, well, you know what? Go right ahead. I would like to just focus on the businesses that we have in the studio, in the audience. Send me a box to unbox, and everything in the box will go to the audience at home for a super chat raffle. So maybe we'll peek in on that in the second half too. But for now, we have some other things to do. some other things to do. Of course, we heard all about Spirit Airline getting its throat cut. It is gone. It's done. That's all done with. It's never coming back. That's what they say. There was a merger that was blocked with JetBlue, and now there's a whole lot of disaffected people out there. Even my cousin was supposed to come up with all of Aurora's little cousins from Florida, and Spirit for somebody like her is kind of clutch because you get very, very cheap flights for a giant family of 5 now. So, but the memes have been pretty good. Here's Spirit Airline being welcomed into heaven with all the other dead brands: Blockbuster, Toys R Us, Sears, Radio Shack, Kmart, Bed Bath & Beyond, AOL. Enron. Oh, that's okay. Enron's in heaven. Gotcha. Circuit City, Pan Am, Lehman Brothers. Why is Lehman Brothers and Enron up in heaven? That doesn't belong there. Borders Books, though, yes. And yes, MySpace. We should make some room for MySpace as well. So, Lord, treat Spirit well. Up the Spirit in the sky. Spirit in the sky. I should have let off with that. If it was last year, I would have. I also, if Matt comes on the show tomorrow, which he says he's going to, but the last time he said he was going to, he actually showed up to the studio, and 5 minutes before we went live, he got pulled away to work and never came back. So I hope he comes in tomorrow because I need somebody to talk to about John Sterling, Yankee play-by-play broadcaster on the radio for like 35 years, 36 years. One of the voices, the most soothing voices of our childhood, died. He was 87, 88 years old, and it's just so sad. And those are the things you're left with that impact you. The things that maybe at times you had taken for granted. I remember some of the earlier memories of ever catching my grandfather with watery eyes was when Joe DiMaggio and Mickey Mantle died, and they had their funerals. And I never really understood. It's like, well, this, and I understand, these are names that you grow up hearing about. American heroes, cultural heroes at one point or another, role models. And you just, you realize it's a lot more than that. It's the passing of time. It's people you grew up with, even though you never really knew them. Got to talk about that. So maybe Matt will be here tomorrow. We'll know. We'll know in due time. I did think that this is funny though. This is funny. Somebody had sent this to me. Charlie Robinson sent this to me since it's baseball related. He sent me a tweet that was written by this guy named Peterson is King. And he's put together a great baseball roster. He says how to build a great Major League Baseball roster. You get yourself either a Puerto Rican or a white, gritty. White means gritty here. Puerto Rican or a white catcher. That's what you need. You need a white first baseman because they're big. You need a Latino or a black second baseman, Latino or a black shortstop, a white third baseman. Yes, probably because gritty as well. Left field, Latino. Center field, black because they're shifty. And right field, Latino. DH, Latino, big, one of the big Latinos. On your bench, you need a white guy, 2 Latinos, and a black guy, shifty. A gritty white guy, by the way. And then your starting pitching. This is the best one. When he sent this to me, I said, okay, yeah, I get what I get what you're saying here. And I agree with this. You have a white guy for your first starting pitcher. You have 2 Asians then for your second and your third starter. Then another white guy for your 4th starter, and then your 5th starter is usually your crazy Latino guy. You put the crazy Latino at the end. But the Asians, definitely, that's where you put them in there. And I would say I agree with that most because the Asians are going to have, they're going to be least likely to have any human emotions. And you need guys with no human emotions to be pitching, especially in those big games, in those best of 5 series in October. So you need that. I agree with that 100%. No human emotions. That's good. And this is good. Oh, and of course, the manager has to be an old Southern white guy. The general manager needs to be Jewish, and the owner needs to be Jewish. And there you have you have your best shot at fielding a championship caliber team. I agree with it. I agree 100%. I agree 100%. I don't even know what their names are. All right. So there's that. Now I have this. You guys know that Infowars was essentially shuttered last week. Our buddy Jay Dyer actually got to deliver the last words on what was decades long run Infowars. Like I said before, I don't know what happened to the Prison Planet property, if that is lumped in with Infowars. But now the company that used to be The Onion, it's just an embarrassing whatever. They took it over. They have Tim Heidecker. I guess I think that's the guy from Tim and Eric from Adult Swim back in the day. There was a couple of things from Tim and Eric that I never sat down and ever watched the show, but there has been some clips, some bits and skits that have gotten around over the years that have made me chuckle. I can't think of them right now. But yeah, that kind of like, Stephen Brule kind of, brand of comedy, that kind of thing. Brule's Rules. Anyway, Tim Heidecker went live on the first Infowars broadcast under new management, and this is what we got. This was retweeted by Count Dankula. Take a listen to this.
But I'm going to sip from the blood of the Forsaken. This is real human blood. You can find this at the Infowars store. This is human blood curated from the Forsaken and the sinners. All right, this is pure premium blood, tested.
It's crazy. They found a way, along with all of the other rejects and demons inside of the federal government, to wrestle this property away from Alex Jones under the guise of making right for the victims of gun violence and all that other stuff. And the first thing they do is they drink human blood. It's all about the consuming of blood there. Oh, well, it's irony. Well, no, there's no irony. There's no satire here. It's not funny. It's so fucking pathetic. It's unbelievable.
FDA unapproved. And this is just human blood. As part of my satanic ritual, I am a servant to Satan. And thank God I was able to.
I think that he got the worst deal, Tim Heidecker. I don't know what he is in the Onion organization, how much stock he owns, but he definitely got a worse deal than Alex Jones did. Absolutely. This is pathetic. This is like stealing an opponent's sword on a battlefield. You're in the middle of a battle. You're able to wrestle away your opponent's weapon, and then you kill yourself with it. And this is just so fucking ridiculous. As Count Dankula says, zero imagination and cringe. Of course, the best thing that they do, and I looked into it too, for the next 6 months, The Onion has to pay $81,000 a month. It's essentially $500,000. I mean, I don't understand this, because I thought that this was going to in some way be a maximum restitution for all the families in one lawsuit or another. And the fact that this came out to only like $500,000, why wasn't it bought back at auction by Alex Jones? There had to have been some kind of legal. This whole thing has been legal jujitsu and lawfare to the hilt. But just can you imagine, even if it's just for 6 months or 6 years, $81,000 a month to turn the Infowars rainbow colors, because that's all they can go to it. Make it gay, it'll piss them off. That's so fucking pathetic. Good grief. So pathetic. Who got the raw deal here? $81,000 a month, and that's what you're doing. I don't get it. I don't get the price at all. But you know what? Let me also just say this, because we have KrisAnne Hall coming on in a little bit. That right there, what you just saw, that is why they have to gerrymander. That's why those types of people have to gerrymander worse than anyone in the history of the world. Okay? That's why. David Cross nonchalantly telling Bill Maher about how his 8-year-old daughter has numerous trans and gay friends at 8 years old. and how cool it is. That's why they have to gerrymander, because this has no appeal. They're out of control. They are also, they are uncompromising, though. They're merciless, uncompromising, crazy. And but at the same time, they have no appeal. But they have a lot of tools and they have resources. The left as a cultural force is absolutely dead. And that's a wonderful thing in and of itself, absolutely. But the militant institutional force that is left behind is like a stage 7 cancer that is in everything. It is in the bone. Okay? No sex appeal left, just large endowments and an army of seething lawyers and teachers and judges and actresses and failed comedians. That's just really what it is. And I and because I have some constitutional questions to ask KrisAnne Hall tonight, because the news is what it is, and people are going to break down numbers state by state and show you how bad things are, how out of whack things are. But I want to understand farther back where we went off track and what it should actually be, because there's at least one 9,000-pound gorilla in the room that nobody's paying attention to, and that is the proper apportionment of representation in Congress versus the population, and how much does citizenship need to be taken into consideration when you're trying to extract and regulate House representation based on the population? Do they have to be citizens, or like our census, our crazy stupid ass census? Can it just be anybody with a warm body? Is that just, or we're just counting warm bodies? So there's that. So I have some larger questions about gerrymandering. But first I want to consult the dictionary. All right. As you all know, we're talking about redistricting. Its nickname is gerrymandering. We're going to get into that for a second. So the gerrymandering, the practice of manipulating electoral district boundaries to give one political party, an incumbent, or a group an unfair advantage over another. Easy to understand, self-explanatory. Real question is there any way that it could be standardized that is actually closest to objective and fair and than others? I don't know. We can talk about that too. But what about the history of the word? You might not know this, some of you probably, because we have a couple of galaxy brains out there at least. So I need you to know what I found. In 1812, here it is. I'm going to put it up on screen right now. Where the hell is it? There you go. What is this? 1812, Governor of Massachusetts, Elbridge Gerry, signed a partisan redistricting bill to favor his Democratic Republican Party. One district in Essex County was drawn so oddly that it looked like a dragon or a salamander. Okay? Artist Elkanah Tisdale is credited with creating the famous cartoon published in the Boston Gazette in 1812. There it is right there on screen. During a dinner party in Boston, a guest noted the map looked like a salamander, to which poet Richard Alsop suggested calling it a gerrymander. According to its account, okay, it's Gerrymander, Gary the last name with that soft soft G. Well, it turned into a hard G. Gerrymander, according to accounts shared by the Smithsonian Magazine and Massachusetts Historical Society. So there you go. There is the first really, really popular gerrymandered district in Massachusetts, which is actually pretty incredible, because when you look at the political map of New England in general in 2026, it is nothing but blue, even though 49% of the votes cast in the Northeast are all for not Democrats. So there's what we have there. Incredible, something I think we all can understand at this point. So what are we going to do? We're going to bring on our good friend KrisAnne. And like I said before, I don't know if this is the first time we've spoken in 2026. My mind is a little bit foggy right now. But KrisAnne, KrisAnneHall.com, fan favorite, great friend of mine, and I hope she's doing well. How you doing, KrisAnne?
I'm fabulous. How are you?
I'm doing just great. So before we get started, tell everybody what's been new with you, because it's been a little while. I haven't seen you broadcasting. I don't know if that's just I don't know what your times are. I know you're always doing work with Court TV, and of course you're an educator and you tour the country a lot. So give everybody a little bit of a nutshell on that.
Well, I'm not broadcasting anymore. I just wear too many hats, and I just can't get the time to sit down. I mean, I think that you totally will understand this, but a lot of people don't understand. An hour behind the camera requires about 3 hours of prep.
Yes.
And so I run a practically I run a full-time nonprofit law firm. I teach at a university 3 days a week. So all of that together, plus I do postings, I do writings, and I do all kinds of other stuff. I wrote 2 books. Since we first talked, I've published two books. I'm writing 2 more. So I have all of that going on, and getting behind the camera doesn't really give me that much time. Now, I do guest appearances. So I'm on Real American Voices. You mentioned Court TV. I'm on Victory News. I do spots like that. That sort of keeps me in that fun zone. And then, of course, I get to be on Quite Frankly, which, don't tell anybody else, is like one of my favorite places to be. And I just don't get to be here that much.
I know. I was waiting for that. But don't worry. We have to get back on track. There's so much to talk about. And of course, we're coming up on some really big anniversaries. I mean, I guess the 250th of Lexington and Concord was last year, but still, right. You know, we're coming up on some big time, big days, and whatever. We have to get you on close to July 2nd as we can, and a whole bunch of other stuff. Actually,
we're gonna have to work at that, because I mentioned this on your show last year. I was actually accepted to study at Oxford University's College of Law.
I remember you saying
this summer. So this summer, I will be in Oxford for our independence celebration. Now, that doesn't mean I can't come on your show. It just means that it'll be, let's see, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 o'clock midnight when I come, which I would do for just a chance to be on your show with you. But so it is doable, but that will be where I am at that time.
I remember that you said you're going to be behind enemy lines on the on Declaration Day. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Hey, you know.
Yeah, but is it really enemy lines at this point? Because Charles talked about, the history of how we have our Constitution because of the English legal history. So it was very refreshing to me, in other stuff that he set aside, of course. It was very refreshing to me to hear him recognize the history that I've been teaching for 16 years.
You know, if we have any time at the end, I would love to hear some of your thoughts on King Charles' address to Congress, because I was watching that, and, from there were some political bones tossed to one side or the other, and everybody is waiting for something to, kind of like use and politicize and co-opt as, you hear that, Trump? Like, everybody's is just waiting. And in that respect, I was watching him, and I said, for everything that could be said about the royal family, all the conspiracies out there, all the hidden history, whatever the hell you want, I'm watching him address Congress, and I'm saying to myself, this guy is so infinitely more intelligent than the average person in this room. Nobody understands what he's saying. Everybody in that room was just waiting for him to say something that they could get like a cheap shot at Trump with. And I was like, they're too stupid to understand what he's even saying.
I mean, he literally had to explain his Charles Dickens reference of A Tale of Two Georges.
It's pathetic. It's pathetic. I've seen that. I said, whatever you say, there's so much to be said about the royals. This guy is so much more intelligent than everybody in this room. It's
well, but Frank, come on, let's be real. It's not a real high bar.
That's what I'm saying. It's so pathetic. It's ridiculous. But you know what? Let's talk about the makeup of that room. because that's what I want a little bit of backstory on here. I gave the backstory on gerrymandering, where it got its name and all that, but now we get to Louisiana versus Calais, or however you say it. April 29th, 6-3 decision. They struck down Louisiana's congressional map that said it was unconstitutional to racially gerrymander. And I have the map over here. It's like all these maps are so ridiculous. Now, up front, I will just say there is no universe, obviously, in which drawing districts and lines and on boundaries is not going to be a political partisan endeavor. But what we're seeing with all this is several leagues deeper in motive by it being so racially obsessed and stuff like that. But how do you do this? Like, especially when you can't impose morals or ethics on a culture that is lacking in both. What's the best way to draw up districts? Is it county lines? I learned that Louisiana, actually, their districts many of them are actually run by parishes. I didn't know that before. How would you approach districting? Well,
remember, in Louisiana, a county is a parish.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, I just learned that.
Yeah, so a county is a parish. They're the same thing. They just call it something different because of its French lineage, right? So Louisiana came to us under French rule, although quite interestingly, most people don't understand that Louisiana was also ruled by the Spanish during our independence. So during our independence, the Louisiana area was owned by Spain, but by the time we get the Louisiana Purchase, it comes from France because Napoleon Bonaparte had to pay off his bills, to be honest. He had to start selling things to pay for his war. And so we ended up with the Louisiana Purchase because Bonaparte had to pay some debts. Mm-hmm. Which is interesting when you're king, you want to pay your debts, you sell off countries, but there we have it.
Yeah.
Oh, so you're asking me a sort of a complex question that really goes to the crux of the problem, because racial discrimination in its extreme context, and I'm trying to say this artfully so as not to substantiate Southern Poverty Law Center's impression of me that I'm a white supremacist, but we're talking about reality of human nature. And maybe I'll attack it from this perspective. The reality of human nature is that people will always congregate and self-segregate based on people they want to be with. And people want to be with people who share like views on culture, who share like views on moral perspectives, who share like views on how they want to live, and people who will always congregate with each other in a discriminatory way. A modern society uses that word discrimination as some kind of an evil term, but it's just a matter of reality. We discriminate every day. And so that's how we make choices. An interesting antidote would be in Dixie County, Florida, a U.S. House rep, a Black U.S. House rep, and this is a true story, walked into a local imbibing establishment, and the people who owned the bar didn't know who he was, and they said to him as he walked in the door, "Your people," did I say he was Black?
Yes.
"Your people are in that room back there." Well, this DC U.S. House rep, who just happened to be in, who knows how you get through to Dixie, Florida, Dixie County, Florida, and nobody goes there. It's really backwoods, but he did, and he was immediately offended. Ends up going back to Washington, D.C., starts this big federal investigation about why this bar is a place of public accommodation who's racially segregating Black people to the back room. Well, they get this whole investigation working out. They got agents in the bar, and they sit down and they talk to the black people who are the ones sitting in the separate room in the bar. And they start asking questions like, why are they oppressing you? Why are they discriminating against you? Blah, 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 blah. And it turns out that every person that they interviewed was shocked and said, what are you talking about? They don't make us sit back here. We choose to sit back here because we don't want to sit with them.
Wow.
So discrimination is a perception. And so when you try to create laws based on perceptions rather than tangible evidence, you will always get confusion. So how do you draw district lines? The best way to draw district lines is through county lines, because they're already political entities. The problem is, if you draw lines by county lines, so you do two things. You do county line and population, right? You draw as many counties together until you get a certain population, and then you move and you draw another group of counties together until you get a certain population. Or if you're in Hillsborough County, Florida, you have to break the county up into separate districts because the county has more people than one district can hold. Do you understand?
Yeah.
But when you start doing that, Frank, you're always going to find and inevitably segregate people into a district based on where they have chosen to live, and people choose to live in a segregated manner.
Totally, I totally get that. I totally get that. I think where what it starts getting shocking is when you start seeing things like this, where you have these octopus-like tentacles trying to reach,
right,
trying to connect a black neighborhood from the northwestern part of a state to a black neighborhood, 300 miles away, and trying to cobble that together outside of what is maybe naturally forming in one area or another. 100%. I never discount the human nature aspect of it, and I don't.
Well, but that's how you have to solve the problem, right? What you're showing us is obviously gerrymandering, and the problem is that there are 3 legal issues that you have to address when it comes to gerrymandering, okay? There's political gerrymandering, which the federal courts don't get involved in. That's a state issue. We're not going to do that. You have racial gerrymandering, which the courts get involved in because of the 14th Amendment. And then you have the Voter Rights Act, which with its test establishes what they call a Gingell's test that states, and I have it written down here so I wouldn't forget, that is, to a certain extent, see, this is so confusing because it's diluted. When you establish a district, you can take race into mind so that a minority is not denied and it have its vote diluted. So the Voting Rights Act overlay has to do with vote diluting. So what you end up with, now let me back up again. The racial gerrymandering is based on race, not on minority versus majority. If a district is drawn in a discriminatory way based on race, not minority or majority, if you can discriminate against a majority, and it will violate racial gerrymandering. It's because it violates equal protection under race. What you have in the Supreme Court is the highest degree of judicial standard called strict scrutiny, which basically means you better have a really good reason why you're doing this, and there has to be no other way to do it. right? That's the sort of layman's term of strict scrutiny. So if you're going to discriminate based on race, you have to meet this strict scrutiny burden of proof, which the state rarely ever wins.
Right. Okay.
However, you have the national rights, the voter rights overlay that classifies race between minority and majority and favors minority against vote diluting. So there's a real, not a legal tension, but a practical tension between those two aspects. Because the Voter Rights Act, what we saw the Supreme Court do, and like you said, I don't know anybody could look at that map and not know what was going on.
Right.
The Supreme Court said that racial discrimination in gerrymandering is unconstitutional. You can't do it. Louisiana can't meet the strict scrutiny standard to justify creating districts based on race. And remember, on this criteria, it doesn't matter. If you discriminate against the majority, it's still racial discrimination. And that's what they did. Where the left is freaking out is they're clinging only to the vote dilution overlay of the Voter Rights Act, which the Supreme Court has said is not in conflict because, yes, it is still racial discrimination, and the Gingell's test only works if the state can justify the strict scrutiny in favor of the minority district, right?
Mm-hmm.
That there's no other way to solve the districting problem of diluting minority votes to do this. The Supreme Court says this completely fails strict scrutiny. It's an obvious discrimination in race, so we can't let this happen.
Yeah, and you know that's what comes to the next thing, because now while everybody is evaluating, well, what does this mean? What does this mean for one area of the country or another? I mean, here we have New England, where there is just absolutely nothing there. But while everybody's talking about what areas of the country are going to suddenly be in play for a Republican or a Democrat, who's going to redistrict their state to go and fight the other one, that's all surface level stuff. But wait,
Frank, because we're not talking about political gerrymandering here.
I know.
We're talking about racial, and political gerrymandering is not in this scenario.
100%. But
other than that, the demographics of Democrat by race and all of that. So
yeah, that's just what this has sparked. You know, they talk about this being, you know, voter suppression and it's going against anything that rebuffs the Civil Rights Act. Any aspect of it is just optically seems to be something that is backward and not very progressive at all, retrograde even. And but now what everybody's talking about the opportunities for both sides to go to war with each other in a big redistricting war, and whether or not who's going to be. Now this is what it comes down to for me. We have 400. It keeps coming down to this one thing: 435 people do not represent 300 million plus.
And I'm glad you bring that up. That's important.
It's all I keep bringing up, and I understand that nobody else is talking about it, so perhaps we're just spinning our wheels in mud. But it's the only law that's on the books. I want to talk about Article 1, Section 2, Clause 3 for a second, and that is, of course, the prescription by our framers that we would have no less than one representative for every 30,000 people. And that's the 9,000-pound gorilla in the room for me. Everyone is trying to get an edge here. Yes, some people are more dehumanizing in their approach to forming majorities than others. But the issue we have is that hundreds of millions of people are channeling their will through a mere 435, and nobody from any party is talking about the Apportionment Act of 1929. All they talk about is, can we add D.C. and Puerto Rico as states and get a couple of extra senators out of both of them? That's all that happens. So can you bring this up a little bit? Obviously, it's the Constitution wasn't, and no parts were amended or repealed. So This Apportionment Act of 1929 seems like toilet paper to me.
The Permanent Apportionment Act of 1929
Right.
locked us into House numbers of 1913, by the way. And it is not an amendment to the Constitution. Therefore, it violates Article 6, Clause 2 of the Constitution, which in your vernacular is piece of toilet paper. It's just trash. It doesn't mean anything. Article 6, Clause 2 determines that the Permanent Apportionment Act of 1929 is null and void. It lacks authority, which is how you can have AOC representing 700,000 people, which is lunacy. That doesn't even make any sense at all.
That's the average right there, about 800,000 people to every one.
Right.
It's not.
That's not there. That's impossible. It is not representation. It is not possible. Look at the people in California. Their state constitution is violated in the exact same way, which is the problem that they have in a sort of micro niche compared to the United States as a whole. The people in California are not represented because they don't follow their apportionment at the state level. And I bring this up because it's interesting that California and the United States both have the same problem. And the problem is this: if you followed the Apportionment Act, it would be practically impossible to govern. First off, where would you put all these people? If California followed their Apportionment Act of their constitution, the entire city of Sacramento will be their House of Representatives. You could not house the House of Representatives if the Apportionment Act was in place for the U.S. in Washington, D.C. It would just be impossible, which brings us to the inevitable conclusion that Thomas Paine made in Common Sense, that it is impossible for the satellite to govern the planet, meaning Washington, D is too small and the United States is too big. And that's our problem. There's no practical way to follow the apportionment clause. But there's no representation if you don't.
Right. I know. I think you and I, we had kicked around some very vague ideas about regional governments, and
it's not vague for me.
We didn't go into detail. That's why I say.
Oh, okay.
And we also
not vague for me.
we were also talking about just remote activity, whether they can be voting through blockchain or something like that. That obviously, you're not going to put 11,000 people into the House chambers over there in DC, because if you're going to that would essentially would have come down to about a little bit over 11,000 people. They wouldn't have an office, they wouldn't have a dormitory, they wouldn't have a dorm room in DC. Who cares? At least we don't have these absolute morons with completely overvalued signatures. And the lobby money is the other thing. I did a calculation that I think the on the books lobbying that goes on every year in DC is probably around $5 billion, 5 to 6 on the books. And I think about that is how much that is usually needed to sway people one way or another in a chamber of 435 people. And if that went up to 11,000 people, not only is their media sex appeal of each of those people just completely gone, because now all of a sudden they're not so special in that roving see, you're looking at nearly $200 billion worth of, I mean, the firms would have to spend, they'd go bankrupt just to get a coalition together. I think that would be great. But like you said,
I think the people would have greater access to their representatives, obviously, just by simply reducing the numbers, but by locking them closer. To your point, why do we even need Washington, D.C. anymore?
Right.
With technology, we can Zoom everything. But then you'd have the argument with deepfake. How do you even know these people are actually there? So you have the digital confrontation with how do you know you're not talking to an AI rendition of me instead of a real person. Although I think there's plenty of arguments of whether Joe Biden had a body double or not, or Hillary Clinton, so there's always going to be some aspect of lack of trust when you get a government that's as corrupt as ours. But I think your point is very, very well made. Why We don't need to have a house to store people anymore.
Well, before I move on to a very critical question about the census role in all of this,
boy.
Can you put into a macadamia style or size nutshell about what you think would be a good way to break this down and get proper apportionment again without having the actual overcrowding of physical space?
Well, I think you have a good plan there. I think get technology in our way, and there's got to be a way. I mean, I just go back to the reality that our tech, what we see, is non-comparable to what actually exists. The stealth bomber existed in 1942. Siemens was developing cell phones decades before they came out. So I think there has to be a cure for verifying what is real and what is not real digitally, and we could do the digital thing, and then that's really good. It is the least disruptive way to solve this problem, because the only other solving is regionalism, which means that we break our union down into 5 separate regions, each state retaining its capital, but then the region has its own capital, in which the region sends representatives to Washington, D.C., so that you have representation that way, with Washington, D.C. being a very, very, very minute part of government, with only affairs that involve the entire union, and then the regions themselves govern their regions internally. But that would be incredibly disruptive. It would be terribly difficult to make people want to do. That's your post-apocalyptic solution, because it would really take a complete breakdown to rebuild that way.
Yeah, you're right.
So I think maybe your solution of digital might be the only way to solve this problem. But here's the real rub, Frank. You got to make people want it to be fixed, and I just don't think enough people want it.
I know. I wanted to have, like most times that you get on the show to talk with me and this audience, it's about understanding where we came from, how it's supposed to be, and why things are the way they are, where we went off track. People need to want this. They need to first be armed with the knowledge of all that. The 435, I don't know what people think that the science behind 435 actually even is. And if they understood that, and it's obviously these are numbers that both Republicans and Democrats are totally fine with, because it's been on the books illegally for 100 years now. 100 years.
Well, 113 years.
Yeah.
So, the numbers are locked 113 years. But here's the other thing, Frank, that came to mind while you were explaining this. The reality is we are stuck in this, and the people don't want it to change. The politicians don't want it to change. So what's going to take that to happen? The reality is, if the federal government was limited and defined in its power exercise strictly related to original intent of the Constitution, 425 people could do it, because there would be very little for them to do.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You don't have people reaching in and telling us how to run our environment, people reaching in and telling us how to manage our land, reaching in our pockets and stealing our money. You have all these things that the federal government is doing that they're not constitutionally authorized to do, completely unconstitutional. If you were able to somehow stop that, then it wouldn't matter how many representatives were in Washington, D.C. The fingerprint or the boot print on the people would be so negligible it wouldn't matter.
Right. Then again, if you're able to get them to care about bringing normal originalist operational order to Washington D.C., then they would care about proper apportionment as well. So it all flows back into each other. So then let me ask you this now. You can't talk about all this without mentioning the ludicrous way that we conduct the census. Aside from the Constitution's prescription for House representation, is that 30,000 citizens per representative, or are we talking 30,000 warm bodies as we have been told in recent years? Because that's what our census does. It counts warm bodies.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm just going to be totally straight up. There's no purpose for the census anymore. The census, constitutionally speaking, had two purposes. Okay. So, both of them apportionment. Okay. So purpose number one is to find the number of citizens for representation, not warm bodies, right? Because warm bodies don't get votes. Only citizens get votes. That's where you have to understand why the census is wrong, because it's originally created to count citizens for representation purposes. The other half of the census is an apportionment of taxes. So taxation was never supposed to have the federal government sticking their hands in your pockets to get paid. The federal government's debt was to be paid off by the states. Only the states could come to you with taxation, whether it be consumption tax or some other tax. I don't know what the people would allow, right? Mm-hmm. So the state could tax the people directly, but the federal government had to get paid through the states. And the census was designed to do two things at once to keep the states honest. You count the number of people in your state to determine how many representatives you get in the House of Representatives. With that same number, you are assigned a percentage of the national expense. So if you have a large population, your percentage to pay the national expense would be higher than those who have a low population. If you have a low population, you don't get as many representatives in the House of Representatives as a state with high population. So basically, tying taxation and representation in the same census was to keep the states honest. They won't lie about having a whole bunch of people so they get a big number of representatives, and they won't lie about having a small population so they don't have to pay a larger portion of the federal expenses. James Madison tells us why this happens this way in some extent in Federalist 45. He says that the powers delegated by the proposed Constitution to the federal government are few and defined. They are to be exercised in foreign affairs, war, peace, negotiation, and foreign commerce. He says foreign commerce will be where the federal expenses to the majority are funded. So expenses, remember, few and defined means small, decentralized government, so there won't be a lot of money needed in Washington, D.C. to fund it. So we can fund all of it through foreign treaties, what the foreign governments pay us to engage in commerce here, tariffs, duties, imposts, that sort of thing. He said the only time the states would have to pay an expense is in that, and I know there's going to be people listening to this, are going to roll their eyes. James Madison literally says, in the rare occasion of war, will the states have to fund the greater portion of the federal expenses. He goes on to say that we expect to live in such a place of peace that war will be so rare that the states will keep the majority of their money and they will keep the majority of their power. So government central will be small because there won't be much war, because they had the unifying perspective that Washington and Jefferson both talked about. We're not going to get involved in other people's disputes. Washington said, "We will be a friend to a friend to all and an enemy to none. We are going to be the new commerce hub of the globe. We're going to treat everybody like a customer."
Yeah, and now it's actually that peace has been a rare thing in our history, and
that's because Thomas Paine. They should have listened to Thomas Paine. Thomas Paine said, also in Common Sense, that if you look at all of history, and even our government, specifically the British government that we lived with, one thing is true. Taxes are not raised to pay for wars. Wars are raised to collect taxes. And that's what that is. But that brings us back to your question. Because the two purposes of the census, the number of people in the House of Representatives, which was squashed in 1929, and the apportionment of how many people are in a state so the states will pay their portion of the national expense, are completely wiped out. They don't exist anymore. So there is literally no legal purpose for the census anymore. None.
And of course, there's no, especially when the only thing people bring up is apportionment in the House. And if we are in this locked 430, I know that we temporarily expanded to like 437 when we added on Alaska and Hawaii or something like that. Yeah. I know we temporarily expanded, but so I'm glad I asked, because what is the purpose other than okay, there you go. There you go. Okay.
Which points out the hypocrisy, because if you go to say there's no purpose to do the census, we shouldn't do the census anymore, you're going to have the people in the government screaming, we have to follow the Constitution. We have to follow the Constitution. Well, okay, then put us back to proper apportionment for the House of Representatives, put us back to the states paying the federal expenses, and get your stinking hands out of my pockets, and then I'll agree with your census again.
I'd like that. I'd like that. Well, we'll see. Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens. KrisAnne, real quick, yes or no? I think I know what this is going to be. Would you have stepped in to save Spirit Airlines?
Who am I?
I know.
I mean, are you? No, I'm asking you. In your scenario, who am I?
Or are you? The federal government. First of all, the federal government. Well, there was more of a this whole mergers and acquisitions, blocking mergers and stuff like that. I don't really understand how this all went down between them and JetBlue. But if an airline is going to go belly up and a buyer comes along and they're like, we'll take it, we'll keep people. Why would there be any kind of governmental involvement in making sure that doesn't happen?
Because we have a corrupt government who's paid by investors that picks winners and losers. That's really what it boils down to. They'll hide behind some crazy made up thing about we have to prevent monopolies. But the reality is that's not true. They support monopolies all the time, especially in pharmaceutical companies. Yeah. They're creating winners and losers all the time. If I'm the federal government, I'm not stepping in and saving Spirit. But here's the problem, Frank. The federal government killed Spirit. The federal government kills industry. And the fact that federal government is in these industries, regulating these industries, bailing out these industries, investing, controlling, and manipulating these industries is why we cannot have a prosperous free market. The federal government has to stay out of independent businesses. It's not their job. It's not constitutional. So no, as the federal government, I wouldn't jump in and save Spirit. But no, as the federal government, I wouldn't jump in and protect pharmaceutical companies and ag companies from lawsuits for their life-killing negligence. I wouldn't jump in and protect anybody who's a business through legislation, because that's not federal authority.
I love that answer. Before you go, what was the most hell yes moment of the history lesson that was given before Congress with King Charles that was probably completely missed by everybody in the room? Maybe a few of the judges, not Ketanji Brown, of course, or Kagan, or Sotomayor, perhaps. I don't understand how the hell. Well, actually, I do understand. We just want the gerrymandering could. Gerrymandering is a good explanation to how we get people like Judge Sotomayor. But when you were watching King Charles talk to Congress, on a historical basis, what did you appreciate the most about the retelling of our kind of shared history?
Well, the 2 minutes where he talked about how our Constitution was not an invention, but was actually the result of centuries of English history. And he mentioned the Magna Carta. I actually did an X and Instagram post where I clipped that 2 minute section out and posted it. And it's funny that you said the judge would miss it, right? So the king talks about how in our case law, Supreme Court case law, the Magna Carta has been cited, oh gosh, I think he said 179 times since 1798 or 1799. I guess it would have been 1799. And the judge in the audience that the cameras focused on when he was talking about the Magna Carta and the Supreme Court, he made this body language gesture like he'd never heard that before, right? So this is the real problem with our jurisprudence. We do not teach that there is a tangible, knowable, precedential history that created our constitutional republic, that our founders just didn't sit around one day in some pub in Philadelphia and make it all up, that they actually looked at 700 years of history back to the year 1014. The king starts with Magna Carta, but it actually begins in 1014 with the Ethelred Agreement, goes through the 1100 Charter of Liberties, the Magna Carta, the Petition of Right, the Grand Remonstrance, and then he mentions also the English Bill of Rights of 1689. All of these documents are a integral portion of how our Constitution was written. As he mentioned, the Magna Carta, our 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th Amendments in the Bill of Rights come from the Magna Carta, some of it actually verbatim. And when he said that, actually verbatim, I was like, whoa, has King Charles been listening to my classes? Because I say those words actually, exactly. So I had a really great time listening to that little 2 minute section. And it was a little bit vindicating, a lot annoying, because some of those people who stood up and clapped were some people who have looked me in the face and told me I was a complete idiot for teaching this history that has nothing to do with America. So their hypocrisy. Now, I do want to point out one thing. At the end of that 2 minutes that I'm clipped is when he made the remark about limiting the executive branch so it doesn't become kings.
Oh, well, then, and of course, when you're saying, I mean, who knows if people understand the hypocrisy of the whole thing? Because, like I said in the opening of this talk you and I are having tonight, the atmosphere in the room was very State of the Union. It was very, very shallow thinking. It was very partisan. Everybody's looking for a reason to, clap enthusiastically because it's supposed to be a dig at the other side of the room. And I know what you're talking about there because, of course, we're on the heels of another No Kings weekend, and here he is talking about limiting the power of the king. I heard that derisive cheering coming from the right side of the room.
But you know what's very interesting, Frank? I actually played, because I teach at a university here in Tampa, and I'm the department chair of their school of government, right? So we have a whole school that teaches American history, politics, how to run for office, all of this stuff in a 3-year program. And I played the King's speech. And right after that, I played a clip that I had strangely taken in 2016, I think somewhere between end of 2016 and the beginning of 2017, where Megyn Kelly was still at Fox and she was interviewing the Fox's chosen constitutional expert. Now, remember, 2017, Barack Obama is president, right? In that interview, they're talking about how people are complaining, the right and the conservatives and the Republicans are complaining that Barack Obama is a king and a monarch. So everybody hates the president that isn't their party.
Yep.
And every president that's not their party is a king. So the Republicans can roll their eyes and throw their flaming darts at the Democrats for their calling Trump a king. But next, in the next 3 years, they'll be calling the Democrat president a king. So I don't put much credence to these kinds of gamesmanship. It's just, excuse the crassness, it's just stupid.
100%. Like I said, it was a State of the Union kind of environment in there, and I just thought how it was interesting where you have a person who was coming in there and speaking on some very much deeper historical substance to a room that is really just like happy hour bar kind of mentality, and on Sunday game day bar specials. I don't know. That's just what it was. Anyway, this has been just so tremendous having you back, and I can't wait to have you on again soon. When do you take off to Cambridge or Oxford?
June 12th.
June 12th. Okay. All right.
And I'll be there until August 15th.
Wow, that's a big run.
Well, it's a whole semester of classes.
Yeah.
I'm actually studying at the law school there. It's not a vacation.
That's incredible.
I know.
I can't wait to get all the information, all of the updates from the road. But we'll talk before then, no doubt. Can you give everybody where do you want them to go? KrisAnneHall.com is linked in the description of the episode, but where else should they be following you?
I'm on X at real KA Hall. I think I have to hesitate for a second and look, because the reality is X threw me off back under previous ownership, and Elon never let my account come back. So it's at real KA Hall on X. I'm on Instagram as well, at KrisAnne Hall. What was that? KrisAnne.Hall. That's right. My husband's back there.
What's up, JC?
Hand signals. So
what's up, man?
Good to hear. Is JC going with you to the UK as well?
Yeah, he is.
That's gonna be great.
Is.
You guys should be hanging
he's
out
right here. He brought,
hey,
he brought my dog. Hi, you want to say hi, Max?
Let's see the pooch.
Come here, Max.
Get up.
There you go.
Oh. Well, he's just a delight. What is that? Is that a pit bull mix?
He's actually a Staffordshire Terrier Whippet mix.
Wow. Oh, he just looks like full of joy, and he's just happy to be here.
He is happy every day of his life.
One of those smiling dogs. They always look like they're smiling. I like those.
Well, he's a rescue dog. And I always think that rescue dogs have that inherent understanding that they were rescued from something. So he's a very, very happy boy and a very happy personality, and he's got energy for days because of the whippet that's in him. He's just.
Now his speaking.
Oh yeah, and I taught him how to speak, Frank.
Really? What does he say?
Actually, have you ever seen those pads where you push the buttons?
Well, like Simon Says?
Well, okay, so it's a little behavioral training tool where you have a pad, linking pads, and in the pads are little recording devices. You record a saying on the device, like want a biscuit,
oh, no.
Want to go outside, want to go for a walk. And after a while, the dog learns to push the button to tell you what he wants.
Oh, no.
And he does.
You can find videos there, whole sentences and conversations.
Oh, yeah. Really good people who have nothing to do all day but train their dogs. They can teach their dogs to do entire sentences. There's videos on YouTube about it.
You're turning that dog into Coco the gorilla.
Yes, he doesn't have fingers to do a sign language, but he pushes buttons with his nose and tells me what he wants.
Well, he lucked out living with you guys, and this has been great. I can't wait to have you on again. And thank
that
you.
Little girl of yours isn't a little girl anymore, Frank. I watch you guys on social media, and that apple didn't fall far from your tree.
Listen, she's going to do very well with your homeschool curriculum when we start really injecting more of the founding histories and all that stuff. I mean, she's already doing so well. And plus, I don't know if you heard, I just announced it on Friday, but she is going to be a big sister.
Congratulations!
I've got another little girl showing up in November.
Oh man.
So
Teenage girls in the house at the same time. Aren't you lucky?
I'm totally, even the cat is a woman. I'm completely surrounded. So I just got to calm myself down, and it's just going to ground me a little bit more, I guess. And
but you have a studio you can run off to.
yeah. You know what? And until they start co-hosting shows together, then I have to engineer them, and that's we'll see what happens. But in the meantime, I'm sure both of them will be your students before long. And thank you for all the friendship, of course.
Well, we love you, and one of these years we're going to get up there to see you.
I would love that. You know, we gotta
one of these years
soon. I'm working on. I thought we would be in a little bit of a different spot, but then of course the internet changed, and I thought that I would be able to fly people out whenever I want at this point. But we've had to pivot a couple of times. But don't worry, we will have our day in the sun. You can bet on it.
You know, and Disney's a good place to visit sometimes if you don't mind the politics of it. Go to Universal Studios instead.
Yeah, get a churro.
We got a place you can stay if you need to.
I love Universal Studios, Islands of Adventure. We'll go to City Walk, we'll hang out, whatever the hell it is.
Yes.
Or whatever. Tampa. I mean, we go to a Yankee game in February.
Oh, sure enough. That'd be great.
All right. Anyway, well,
you know, we have a hockey team too.
The Lightning.
Because I think they're kind of good.
I think so too. I'm not a big hockey guy, but I've heard that the Lightning has they've been on good runs in over the years.
Yeah.
You need to see the Knicks and MSG.
Oh.
I've never seen a hockey game or an NBA game ever. I've only ever been to MSG for concerts. I've never seen anything athletic going on over there. So
my husband is such a Knicks fan. Maybe I'll have to figure out how to get up there just to surprise him one day.
Well, I have more than enough room in the studio. I have like 4 open seats right here, so you guys can fill 2 of them. We'll figure this out. I promise we'll figure this out.
It out.
Okay, thank you guys. Man. Peace
thank
to you.
God bless.
All right, bye-bye. All right, guys and gals, there goes KrisAnne Hall. And now we are going to settle in for some of your calls. It's great to Yes, I'm surrounded. It's all right. Already. You know, I think it was it Linda Love? Somebody, Frank, do not name daughter number 2 Borealis. Yeah. Oh, this is Aurora. And this is Borealis, her sister. Oh, she would hate me. Why did you do this to me? I didn't do anything. It was a joke. Okay? It was a joke. Lighten up, Borealis. Oh, I hate you. You know, that would be, it's like why we condemned her to ridicule just for the sake of a joke. Anyway. Well, listen, it doesn't matter what the hell I name the new arrival, because Aurora is going to call her Coconut, and that's just going to be it. That's it. Just like Aurora was a chicken nugget. That was kind of my doing, but you know, that's they're going to have names for each other, and they're going to imitate me. Those 2 are going to imitate me and Lauren. They're going to criticize us, and when they get old enough, do imitations and impressions. Ooh, I know exactly what Dad's going to say. Like, if I just hope that I can walk in on it one day. I hope I walk in on them doing an impression. They wouldn't hide it from me. They would do the impression right to my face. That's what's going to happen here. There's not going to be there won't be any fear. So now you have to name her that, they say. That will happen. Well, hey, listen, my brother, all we do is imitate our father still to this day. I don't know. We never couldn't really imitate my mom. There's some things. If I had imitated my mom, I would just be like throwing remote controls. My mom has broken so many remote controls, throwing remote controls at us. We dodged them. I was never hit by any remote controls, but many have shattered against the wall. I can't imitate a woman's voice, but girls can imitate guys' voices a little bit better. They just get the mannerisms down and they make their voice like this. So we'll see what happens. Anyway, I want to hear from you guys. The second half, it's great that KrisAnne was on. I wanted to hit that history up. Now it's time for whatever the hell you want to talk about. I've got super chats here. I've got a whole bunch of random stuff that we can do. remember, I'm going to give away I'll do a Polaroid in a second. But for now, I want to bring your attention to a couple things. I have a new show thread up on quitefrankly.tv on the forum. I pinned it to the top. It's called, here it is. It's called Improbable Love Stories. Are you a living example of a happy ending love story between two unlikely people? Two people with turbulent pasts, warring families like Romeo and Juliet, separated by extremely long distances or other lottery-like probabilities that went against ever linking up and making it last. Well, I want to know about that. I got inspiration from that because I got an email from a friend of the show who told me a wonderful story. We have a friend out there who just got engaged, and it sounded like one of those, it's never going to happen, long distance. It was so many years in the past, and all of a sudden they're engaged and happy and ready to embark on a whole. So I was so happy to get, I love getting those emails from people, updates from people. And so I said, improbable love stories. That sounds good. So if you want to jump in on that, please, I'm going to put it in the chat room right there. There is the link. I'll put it into the Rumble as well. Put it in the link. I'll put it into the Pilled as well. I just put the link in there. Okay, so that's the first one. Number 2, on quitefrankly.tv on the blog section, as promised, you go to, I put it on the YouTube. I put it, I think, in Patreon, Subscribestar. I shared it around. Here is the full blog post. My sister-in-law put it together. Lauren put the blog together. Sourdough cinnamon brain buns featuring cinnamon pluck. So here is the blog post that you get all the ingredients, the baking instructions. If you go out and I have the link to the 15% discount on pluck right there. If you wanted to add that into it, because the whole thing is you got the sourdough and you've got the organ the presence in the whole thing. So just nutritionally. But if you wanted just to make these sourdough cinnamon buns, I'm telling you, I promise you guys this. Just follow these instructions. It's all for you. It's not behind a paywall. Shared it around. I'll put it in the thing right now. These will become a special occasion holiday staple in your house. I promise you. They are so damn good. They're so damn good. I also have my sister-in-law's link to her Instagram in there. And she is going to be, as you may know if you were here at the Jamboree in September, she's going to be doing all of the cooking, the primary cooking for the VIP night here at the studio. And then to some degree, she'll be involved on the 6th as well. So that's going to be mostly steak on the grill. We're working all that out. Sal the butcher. We're going to work that all out with him. We have that cooking right now. And that's the other thing, guys. That's another thing I couldn't say as of a week ago, but the tickets to the Spring Fling, they are still available. There's only one event this year to meet up and all that stuff. And that's because the baby arrives in autumn, and I'm not even going to the mountains this year because we usually go the first week in October, and it's almost go time. Didn't want to chance it that month before. So we're celebrating 250 years of America, 20 years of broadcasts for me, and of course, new life. New life, baby. So, and the theme is steak. That's the theme. So get to quitefrankly.tv and hit the events link. Just come to the 6th. Bring your family. Let me know. Just come to the 6th. It's okay if you don't want to do the full VIP package, though that includes both days, but come to the 6th. It is cheap, and you're going to be well fed. Dominic, the ice cream man, will be serenading you at the end of the night. It's going to be a June evening on a beautiful estate. You're going to love it. Okay, the lines are open. 914-200-0269. Let's see what comes through. 914-200-0269. And in the meantime, the rat apocalypse. Anybody in, where is this? In Iowa? No. This is in Idaho. Night after night. This is from the Daily Mail. Doug Perry and his wife Barbara were plagued by the sounds of rats munching on cables and scurrying around their Idaho home as they tried to sleep. The couple got so fed up, they filled their house with sticky glue pads and traps and set up Ring camera in the kitchen to try to catch them. Every night, they would be woken by a notification that the vermin invaders were back in their kitchen, but Doug said the smart rats often invaded them, escaping back into their hideout through a tiny cable hole behind the TV before they can get downstairs to catch them. My wife was going crazy, he said, out there in Boise. They're so quick, so fast, they can jump 6 feet. They're horrible. I would be in an absolute hell. That's an absolute hell. I can't even think of anything. Oh, I can think of worse. For several years, this had become a common occurrence for residents of Ada County, as sightings of vermin have been growing at a rapid rate and costing residents thousands in private pest control. Residents like Doug told the Daily Mail that they've had to take matters into their own hands as lawmakers have failed to help them. You know, I posted this on Telegram. Where the hell is it? I found this clip. I've been going through these clips. I found something. This is Matt. Hold on a second.
Matt and Mike found some mice in the studio.
This is from 2000. This might have been late 2014 or early 2015. This is at the first studio, and this is when we started. We started realizing that there's a lot of mice in the storage room. And Pyretta was kind of like, what's going on? Anyway, Matt gives us a little bit of insight into the mating and the probabilities. He's just assessing the situation in the way that Matt would. Here you go. Listen to this.
Matt and Mike found some mice in the studio. Matt, you found the father, but can the mother start mating with all of the kids?
Her kids are a little too young, it seems like, but we're in a big building, so I'm sure she'll find cock somewhere.
The fact that it cut off, I love that. Oh, the children are too young still, but it's a big building. I'm sure she'll find cock somewhere. Those damn mice, they can't stop. Nothing will stop them. They just won't stop. She's hungry for it. Oh man, I hope I keep finding stuff like that. I've been digging through all the old Instagram. Insatiable, can't be stopped. So, but anyway, anybody out there in Idaho near the Boise area, can you attest to how bad it's getting with the rats? Look at this. Look at that awful rat. This is crazy. Speaking to the Daily Mail, State Representative Steve Birch warned not dealing with the issue properly or in timely manner can and will result in tens of thousands of dollars in damage. And they passed a piece of legislation. Look at that rat. Ugh. In March, this state representative named Birch introduced a Senate bill called the Rodents of Unusual Size Act. There's a Princess Bride reference for you. After his constituents contacted him about the growing problem. It failed in the state house with 13 representatives whose constituents live in hotspots. Wait, it failed? Hotspots of Ada and Canyon counties voting no? If 4 of them had changed their mind, the bill would have passed. Wait, why would they vote no if they're in the middle of the hotspot? Birch, a Democrat, blamed Republicans for letting the bill fail, as every Democrat had voted in favor of it. Remember who to hold accountable. A short-sighted legislature controlled by the majority party that wouldn't even approve of the development of a plan. Not spending money, just development of a plan to figure out what needs to be done. Good golly. Idaho, I just didn't think. Maybe it's the Californians brought it with them. So from Idaho to, I believe this is in South Africa, but it seems like a story that you would get out of Florida as well. Police airlift a crocodile with the body of a 59-year-old businessman inside of it. This is from Colin Rugg. When they landed, local police in South Africa say that they suspected the crocodile ate the man after observing it from drones. They then shot it and airlifted it off. When they landed back on the ground, the crocodile was sliced open and human remains were found. The remains were believed to be Those of 59-year-old Gabriel Batista, who had been previously swept away in raging floodwaters. His ring was found inside the animal along with 6 other pairs of shoes, which authorities fear may belong to other victims. I guess it didn't digest like sucralose. Those shoes were made of sucralose. On Monday, Batista reportedly tried to drive over a flooded bridge to reach his hotel and bar, but he and his truck were swept into the water. He was then swept down the river where crocodiles were waiting for prey. It is unclear if Batista was already deceased when he was eaten, but authorities believe some of the other remains may have been eaten by other crocodiles. Look at that thing. Look at that thing. Now, some people are saying, rest in peace, crocodile. You didn't deserve this. You did not deserve this. You prehistoric beast. You're only doing what crocodiles do. So here's the thing, though. If someone you love was swept away down a river, suspected to have been eaten by a crocodile, and you have a reasonable level of confidence, even a reasonable level of confidence that you have the crocodile that has your loved one inside of them. I know you should, like, I'm kind of against the killing of like black bears and stuff like that just mosey through somebody's yard. You know? Oh, like there's a black bear back, destroy it, kill it. So I think sometimes if you can, just get these things safely back into their habitat. They are just animals. They're not doing anything wrong. I mean, whatever. They ate your dog. I mean, was it because the bear was evil? So I don't know. I'm kind of, I'm torn on a lot of that stuff. And this crocodile, this South African crocodile just hanging around there, I understand if somebody just wants to be able to properly deal with their remains in whatever, I don't know, reasonable and compassionate way that you can with whatever is left of them inside of this animal. So I understand, just sorry, big guy. I know you had your meal. I know you're not, really violating the laws of nature here, but I need my loved one, whatever's left of them. I understand that. What do you guys say? You still think that the crocodile should have been left alone? Or if you can empathize with the family, would you want whatever's there? You don't want to just wait around for the crocodile to shit out a ring? It's a little, that just sucks. Sucks all around for everybody. Let me see here. Oh, hold on. I didn't give you guys the sourdough. Here's the sourdough. I'll put it in the links. There you go. Take the sourdough recipes and all that stuff. Give it to somebody in your life. I'll ask my sister-in-law if at the spring fling on that first weekend in June, if we can have, if she can give some, dry sourdough starter to people again. Like she gave out like 50 packets of it or something like that for the jamboree. But either way, go ahead, have fun, and take me pictures of your creations because they are the greatest ones I've ever had in my life. All right, let's see. Here's a little bit more. The lines are open. Marco Rubio has been asked to run Spirit Airlines. Let's take a look at this one.
Looks like you're going to have to take over Spirit too, Marco.
I can't. This is all I care. I still approve of this use of AI. Fine. It's too much money for somebody to go and cast an entire production to be able to make this incredible thing, this chaotic thing come to life. Sure, the temperature of the Earth just raised a true half a degree because of all the processing power that was used to make it. But it is a level of crazy and chaos that made me chuckle. The other night I had said, what didn't I have? I swear to God, it was either on Wednesday or Thursday night of last week. I made an Ask Jeeves reference. Did I not? Well, I saw this on over the weekend on Instagram. Ask Jeeves, ask.com officially has shut down after nearly 30 years, marking the end of Ask Jeeves. And this was what it was on May 1st. I can't believe it. I didn't know that it was closing down. Every great search comes to an end. Ask IAC continues to sharpen its focus. We have made a decision to discontinue our search business, which includes Ask.com. After 25 years of answering the world's questions, Ask.com officially closed on May 1st. To the millions who asked, we are deeply grateful. To the brilliant engineers, designers, and teams who built and supported Ask over the decades, and to you, the millions of users who turned to us for answers. Everybody in the chat room, anybody, just press number 1 in the chat rooms, wherever you are. If you were using, if that was your primary, anybody watching live right now can say that they were using Ask Jeeves up until April 30th of 2026. Press number 1 in the chat room. Let me see here. I'm just curious. Anybody? I'm watching them all. I just want to see if anybody out there, just one person. Don't mess with me either. Only if you really were using it. Because I didn't even know. Didn't even know it was still out there. Florida Girl says 1. Florida Girl on Twitch says yes. I was the one person using Jeeves on April 30th, 2016. Yes, I'm watching Twitch. I'm always watching Twitch. I have Twitch and YouTube combined together. I can't wait until they combine Rumble into Twitch and YouTube. Restream has got to get on it. Damn. Let me see over on Rumble. I don't see anything. Never used it. I haven't used it since the 90s. I haven't used it. While we're over there on Rumble, it's great to see a nice group of people out there tonight. Jay Semo says, great educational show. Do they teach this stuff in high school? I don't think so. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Apportionment, they do not teach. You know the thing that really pisses me off? What the hell was it? It was this one tweet that I responded to. Let me find it real quick. Let me find it real quick. It won't take too long because it was just maybe a few days ago. Let me see. Hold on. Here we go. This tweet right here. Cameron says, POV, you make everyone pass an AP government test before they can vote. So this smarmy little twat on Twitter, on X, a political progressive, economic liberal, bisexual centrist. Maybe it's just trolling. I don't think so. But this whole idea that you should pass an AP government test before you can vote, and if you can pass an advanced placement government test, then the entire country will go blue. Not true. And tonight's episode is an example of all that stuff. The Constitution is literally 45. It's a 45-minute read. This one's a little bit longer because it has, at the end of it, it has all of the, it has the, whatchamacallit, a little bit of history. It has an index. It has the Declaration of Independence. I think it even has does it have the Articles of Confederation? No. So here it is right here. These pages right here. It's less than a 45-minute read. And it's because the common man can and should be able to apply this easily in keeping normal civic order here. And in understanding this thing, effectively eliminates both parties that we have today. The Republican and Democrat parties, gone. They are gone. There is no basis for either party existing on a federal level right there. And no AP government test. Okay, you can take your AP government gatekeeping and shove it right up your smarmy ass. Anybody who does that with you. Okay? Because like we were doing tonight, who the hell, when was the last time you heard a Republican or a Democrat talking about Article 1, Section 2, Clause 3? About one representative per 30,000 citizens. When? Because unless that was repealed or amended, then this 1929, the Permanent Apportionment Act of 1929 it's worthless. It's as powerless as it's nothing. It's nothing. So that's the whole thing. And that is over 100 years of two parties being totally fine with that. Why? Because that is the only way that you can have it. Think about 11,000 people. Think about 11,000 people that make up the House of Representatives. Sure, you're not going to be able to get everybody in to that one very ornate, classic-looking chamber, and you're going to have to either build a new arena about the size of Madison Square Garden in Washington, D.C., or you go to a little bit more of a secure digital portal kind of a system. Maybe that's what we can actually do with the blockchain and making it a little bit more of a widespread utility. But at the same time, think about the coalitions that would actually form. Out of 11,000 representatives, think about the party representation we would have. We would put European coalitions to shame. And rightfully so. That would not be, 7,000 Republicans versus 4,000 Democrats. You'd have all types of shit going on, and it would be glorious. It would be glorious. But to get to that point, you would have to have a political will, a cultural, a moral, an ethical will to see through not only that standard of apportionment in Congress, but if you have reestablished that, then you've also reestablished the proper function of the federal government itself, and we have somehow jumped into the fifth dimension. I don't see that happening. Which is why these are very educational shows. It gives you a little something to carry around with you while you face off with people who have simply given up, and you can still talk about the soap opera with them, but it's just, they never had a chance. They were never, ever taught this. Ever. 817, you're on the air. Who dis?
Frank, this is Cloud9.
Cloud9, go right ahead.
Well, just more so on the topic of why do we have this, from a mainstream perspective, a clearly robust political system that has never once failed us. But on the unofficial side of things, we both know that both political parties, by and large, don't represent our values. Well, why is it that you get parties like the Libertarian Party or the Green Party, and yet they're still so unsuccessful? And maybe we could have this coalition of some new parties that emerge in the future. My personal take is, well, because number one, we've tried that before. Go back to the early 90s, right? You've got the Libertarian candidate or the third party candidate running against George Bush Sr. and Bill Clinton, Ross Perot. And whatever you will say about Ross Perot, you may prefer him over a George Bush candidate. However, he's the reason that George Bush lost that candidacy, and then Bill Clinton was installed. Now, do I foresee a future where maybe you get more of a decentralized political party system? Maybe, but like you said, that's going to be dependent upon a couple of factors, a political will, a moral will, maybe even a religious one as well. But I would also add to that a homogenous society that number one, values the civic duty to vote and the understanding of at least basic constitutional foundational values that we give tests to for like immigration status, but we're not there yet. More so, I don't know if you can even really trust the voting political machine at all. I mean, we're at the point now where we're starting to question AI and whether or not that's going to be a use for good in the future or currently. And so my argument is simply to either understand how the political system works and utilize it to the best of your advantage, or just don't vote at all. That's my thought process on that particular piece. Do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I would. I would be totally comfortable in not voting at all if I just didn't. And I understand it's don't vote at all and don't complain, or vote and just be completely disappointed that everything you hoped you would get, you had to tailor your expectations along the way, and no matter which way you slice it, your money is still taken to fund the entire damn puppet show. And that's the real thing. I would be totally fine in withdrawing from this entire monstrous game if I can just line item veto myself out of the equation financially. If I can just declare myself truly sovereign from the system. I understand that there are people out there who claim you can, and I really wish them well, and I like to observe their success from afar. But I am that's really what it all comes down to right now. I'm not here to change the world, and I want to have some enlightening discussions with an audience, and hopefully everybody, there's some kind of a ripple effect that comes out from there, and in that respect, who knows what it's possible. But I think the most practical thing would be in this state to be able to just separate yourself and your financial best interests from what is just a mindless money suck and a morally devoid and ethically devoid nightmare scenario. And that's really it. It's really just my main dream.
And to add to that, I would say that you're not wrong in the sense that like we're kind of drawn towards it because our tax incentives are there. Our tax money is basically going to all of these foreign interest groups and essentially things that we don't want our money to go towards anyways, because the government forcefully takes it away from us. So I can understand that piece. I guess what I'm just simply asserting is that a lot of the political parties that we've seen throughout the years have essentially tried to, muster up some grassroots organic way of getting to that finish line where they can compete with a Democratic or a GOP candidate. But oftentimes we've seen what kind of goes on behind the scenes, and one thing leads to another. Corruption begets corruption. That's just my take on it. But kind of, I wanted to drive home this point, which was the question of AI and whether or not like this is actually going to be sustainable. I mean, maybe unless like we have, I don't know, upwards to, I think I saw a stat the other day that said that HSI and the DOJ estimated anywhere between 50 to 90 mil of the entire population of the United States are here illegally. If that was the case, and tomorrow we had all those people return back to their countries of origin, does that change the political stance in America? Maybe. But then you would have to deal with the factor of AI being introduced. The other day I was talking to a friend who just decided altogether to get out of the dating scene because it was pointless, it's worthless. There's no point in dating anymore because almost any chick you run into has at least an Instagram or some type of OF account, and they're posting pictures very provocatively. And I thought that's a very black pill kind of doomer pill to take. And then started to dawn on me that he's actually using AI as a supplicant to actual relationships with women, because he's asking it very intimate questions such as, hey, if you were my girlfriend, what would you say to me to make me feel better, to cheer me up? So that question in of itself, I think is another question altogether outside of like immigration
Wait. Your friend, you found out that your friend was having is having some sort of a supplemental relationship with AI because talking to actual women is depressing him.
Well, think about it, right? From the standpoint of him, I'm not agreeing with it.
But how does
obviously
how well? I mean, we talk about AI and digital, human mimicry as how it can be disruptive on a relationship level all the time. Just really quickly, nutshell, so we can move on to how that ties into the electoral questions we've been talking about.
Well, because essentially, it's like any other type of addiction. It suppresses you. It makes you docile. It doesn't get you out into real life, I would argue. So whatever your opinions are on marijuana, marijuana makes you docile. It doesn't make you act a whole lot unless you're a Joe Rogan type character, or you just, you've gotten used to it so often that you've built up a tolerance to it. But since this is so new, I'm afraid what we're going to start to see is a whole bunch of people just kind of resort to this Ted Kaczynski way of living where they retreat back into the woods and they use AI or they use technology, something that Ted Kaczynski is completely against, by the way, to supplicate normal human interactions. So even if we were to get rid of, let's say, 90 million illegals tomorrow, you're still going to have to deal with the fact that most people are already black-pilled about the government system altogether. So does that kind of make sense as to why I was tying that together?
Yeah, I do see it in a way. Yes, I do. I do think that I don't know if it would be. I think if people do become disillusioned, I think it's more likely that they do. And thank you for the call, Cloud9. I think that it's a little bit more likely that they do go in a Ted Kaczynski route. Not so much sending a bomb to Radio Shack, but more so the withdrawing. If you got rid of 90 million illegal immigrants right now, illegal aliens, that, like so many other things, would be a culture shock. Well, maybe a financial shock. There's no doubt about it that after so many years of this being the norm, there would be all types of shock waves. I don't know. I don't know what it would mean electorally. Apparently, so many things are being done out of just, tradition at this point. For people to say, well, that this is what Democrats want the census for. This is why they want, they don't want any kind of a differential between citizens and people, whatever. They just want this all to be, well, if you're going to follow anything that's to do with, congressional representation or something like that, then it has to be a measure of citizenship. It has to be. I don't really understand what they're doing there. Maybe it's more so about their state. Nothing makes sense. Nothing makes sense. But a little bit more to chew on there. Joe Martinez, hello. Thank you so much. Jay Britt says, if we can mandate all voters and elected officials to take KrisAnne Hall course, maybe we could steer this ship in the right direction, if only. Great show, Frank. Thank you, Jay. And I put you guys in the you know what? Shield your eyes. A flash is about to occur. Let me take a little coffee. There you go. A little lope dog for you. Who's getting this tonight? There we go. We'll let that go over there. Who's getting this one tonight? Gino says, huge congrats to you, Lauren and Aurora, on the new edition. So happy for you. On a sad note, R.I.P. to John Sterling, the best ever and the voice of my childhood. Thanks for all you do, Francis. Yeah. I was really upset about John Sterling today. I know he was in his 80s, and then I heard Michael Kay talking about his, him having a little bit of a downfall real quick with some surgery he had to do, and he couldn't walk for a while, and then he just went into heart failure. But his mind was there. He was still making, some radio appearances and talking, and his mind was always there. And I loved it, just loved his voice. I loved just listening to him and Susan Waldman talk on so many summer nights and October nights, all those rigged baseball games where no magical moments ever happened for Americans ever. There was never any real moments of triumph in human history, nothing like that. And he was just part of the illusion, of course, doing all of his math before the game to make sure everything went according to plan. But still, I loved him. He was fantastic. And we'll talk about him a little bit more if I got Matt in tomorrow night. Road Trip says, monkeys never crap. No, man, never crap because monkeys every day banana. 2. Cramp. Monkeys never cramp because they have banana. 2 bananas every day. Of course, I have 3. Shotzi says, happy Monday. Nice to see KrisAnne. Isn't it? Jay London says, wanted to send love to the show. Well, thank you. And thank you, Gino, before for the congratulations. 2020 was such a special year. There was so much going on that we were dealing with. This show became a really big hub for a lot of people who had nowhere to go and nothing to watch. 6 years later, it's a little bit more it's not as chaotic, but a little bit of chaos. And the fact that we have another child coming, it just feels wonderful. It feels like a very familiar energy, and I just appreciate. I want to bring that excitement to the show every night, that anticipation, and please keep us in your prayers. Obviously, thank you so much. Jay Semo says, "Oh, congratulations! So happy for all of you guys. Thank you, Jay. Appreciate it." Browntail says, "Having a tween daughter is like owning a cat. You go down to pet it, and you don't know if that cat is going to rub your leg or if it's going to draw blood." Well, thank you. Thank you for getting me all excited. Then again, there has been no lack of people telling me what to be excited for every, year along the way to 6. And everything has turned out just fine. Terrible 2s, fantastically horrible 3s. Wait until you get a load of these fucked up 4s. The I don't know, the frivolous 5s. So there's a horrible nightmare nickname for every year of a child's life, and it's just been fine. I don't know. Then again, it's Aurora, and her sister can shoot out like a bat out of hell and could be an absolute terror. We'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see what we can do, All right, Silly Boar, thank you. Corey, JR at the Lake, just gifted a 1-month bronze tier subscription. That happens on Pilled a lot. People become monthly sponsors just because of the generosity of awesome people there. Amethyst Cat says, happy Monday, Frank. Many prayers for a happy, healthy pregnancy for Lauren and baby Coconut. Safety Net 820. Happy, healthy Monday, Frank, and all the Frankly families. Comfortable, uneventful pregnancy, Lauren. Sending much love. Mongard, M. On Guard, just bought a 12-month silver tier subscription. M. On Guard, email me. I want to make sure you get a 20-year shirt. A whole year you're going to spend with me over there on Pilled. Please, you're going to be in for all the awesome extra broadcasts. The film club, we got film club this week. Oh, no. This week is going to be the Playhouse and a Saturday Night Lounge, but Film Club the next 2 Fridays in a row. You're going to love it. Thank you so much. And that's really the best way to support the show over the course of the next year. I'm never going to tell you guys, I know a lot of you are like, Frank, I want to send a gift to the baby. We're in a great spot that there's a girl coming because we have a lot of Aurora stuff saved. And yeah, baby Coconut is going to have a lot of stuff of her own, but, the best thing to do is become a small monthly sponsor, $5 or something like that. The success of the show obviously is going to benefit the stability of a growing family. So and I'm trying to really manage space. I'm sure some of you are just going to be like, Frank, I'm a quilter. I quilt. This is what I do. And okay. All right. Okay. but I'm just letting you know. All right, Sean Joe, thank you. The Unseen Lover, thank you. Not Your Mom. Congratulations. If everyone was as loved as Aurora and Coconut, the world would be a better place. Well, I love you guys. Try to spread it out the best I can to faces I can't see. It's great when I get to meet you guys in person. That's why this social event in June is going to be so great. I hope I get to meet a couple of new faces, and I hope a lot of returning old faces will be here. Old faces. I can't wait to see your old fucking faces, man. I can't wait to see just skin hanging off the bones, some of you people. Just can't wait to watch you just creeping, shuffling in like the dead, the living dead. All of your old faces. Oh, that came out wrong. Let's see. Thank you so much. JR, Stowstube with a sleeve of cookies, and Rosie with a can. Stowstube, hold the fort. What the hell? And then Deansy, what's in the weekly raffle, Frank? We'll get around to that, Dean. We'll get around to that. Okay, let's take a call. 708, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Oh, Frank, it's Rev. Congratulations, brother.
Well, thank you so much. It's good to have you on, sir.
Yes, and I just have to tell you just one thing. I know you know this, but the regular listening audience is not going to understand the context that you brought up about me noticing your strip of sonogram pictures in the background. And I'm feeling a little creepy stalkerish about that.
Yeah.
But I just wanted you to know that only came up because I already had suspicions. And in the Discord server, another chatter who goes by the screen name Valley, I think.
Yeah.
V-A-L-I, I think. Yeah, I don't know him that well, but I do see him in the chat. And he broke the ice and brought up the topic and said, told everybody in the room, remember that I said this. They're expecting. And I went to myself, that's it. The ice has been broken. Now I can share my suspicions with just a couple of close people in the chat, not widely publicly, because I wasn't trying to ruin any surprises, right?
I saw Chuck. I actually saw that exchange in the Discord. I observed it, but I didn't say anything. And I said, all right, well, there's a couple of people who are just mark my words. This today, I'm telling you right now, I said it. So I knew that there was going to be at least a couple dozen people out there who had just put something together, and they would be taking a victory lap. But yes, I was shown a screenshot that you dropped in somewhere from a Sunday stream, and there in the background was my refrigerator with a long string of black and white photos. I think these are ultrasound pictures. I'm like, oh my God.
Great story, because that was after the comment from Valley, and you did the Sunday stream, and I happened to watch it. And, I see not all of them, but I see a lot of your Sunday streams. So I knew that typically you face, either the coffee station or you're facing into the room with the television in the background. And you spun and did a 360 spin that day. And I went, I think his refrigerator was in the background. If they're actually expecting, I bet you there's ultrasound photos there. So I did scrub back and found that scene, and I saw what I thought was actual legitimate proof that it was ultrasound.
It's crazy.
I'm like, bingo.
Yeah, it's crazy to know you did. And
I just wanted to put that out there so that people are like, man, what a stalker AF MFer.
You know what? And at the point, I just let it roll, and obviously I couldn't say anything. I couldn't say anything because what I'm going to say, oh yeah, he got it right, or I'm going to deny it outright. The one thing I would never be able to do was thank you for the call, Chuck. I got to wrap this one up. The one thing I would never be able to do, and I haven't, was deny it, because that would be to deny that my daughter exists and that she is real, and that like Linda Love sent me a screenshot of Friday night show with me here, Lauren over there in the corner, Aurora over there, the three of us in frame, and she sent me a screenshot on Discord, and she said, This is the first time that all four of you, all four of you as a family have appeared on a stream together. I said, man, isn't that just something else? That's why anybody who had any suspicion, AK, a few other people got in touch with me, Katie, Sky, Rosie. Are you guys expecting? Are you guys expecting? And I'd be like, we're always praying. Always praying. Always praying. Pray for us. Pray for us. Pray for us. I would never say no. Because that wouldn't feel right. Can't say no. So nobody ever got an outright denial. You've got an obfuscation. And so that was the whole thing there. Mark Swan just sent me a tip and said, congratulations to me and Lauren for giving Frank another child. This guy for what? For 10 years now? Just won't stop. The guy won't stop. He shows up like a phantom every once in a while, says something wildly inappropriate. Mark Swan should come to the little thing over here. Of course, he'll be kept at least arm's length away from Lauren with a broom handle. Lauren will have one of those 6 feet in diameter hula hoops around her, like during COVID. The idiots that walked around doing that. Let me see here. A couple more. Silly Boar, Amethyst Cat, Deansy, I got that in, and Secret Weapon. Silly Boar says, I'm sure you already have in mind, but Autumn and Aurora has a nice ring to it. Autumn Valbureau. Autumn. I have a couple of thoughts in mind, but I don't want to tell you because I don't want anybody to get biased or get their hopes up. I just got to talk about it with Lauren. We'll see. We will see. That Autumn is nice. I always liked Autumn, and I always liked Audrey. Audrey has, I always thought that was just a very beautiful name. Very beautiful name. Autumn and Audrey, they kind of have fiery, warm colors that come along with those, like a Duraflame kind of color. Not the chemical agent of Duraflame, but like a fire pit. Something that's warm, orangey yellow, autumn, obviously, like the whole seasonal tones to it too. But I love that. Audrey is a very beautiful name. And yeah. That's all I got for you. Hey, we'll do a little bit more of this. And here's what I'm going to do. Oh, let me see who wins the whatchamacallit. Here's who's going to win the Polaroid tonight. I got everybody in out of 31 names, but Unseen Lover. Unseen Lover gets this weird picture of me taking a drink on air. So Unseen Lover, do me a favor, email me, frank@quitefrankly.tv. Tomorrow, I will put this into an envelope and put a stamp on it. I'll have Aurora put the stamp on, and out with the mailman it goes. It'll be in your house. Man, the turnaround time of sending these out is really good. So Unseen Lover, thank you so much. But don't worry, everybody that did not win tonight, including Unseen Lover, you guys are all in for the end of the week raffle, which we will unbox this on the flip side, and tomorrow for the Tuesday night show, I will show you what it is, because that'll be part of the grand prize there. Okay, that's it. Thank you to KrisAnne Hall. We'll do a little bit of that, and we will do a little bit of joy scrolling. Oh shit! Hold on, we got other winners. Here's some more winners for you. This is from Keto Brainz. The grand prize winner, who gets, this is $1,000 worth of stuff, which includes a year supply of Keto Brainz, plus you're getting the BPC 157, a Montana State gift package, and the Pharmalogical Bone Broth, who is coming on as a sponsor because it marries perfectly with the Keto Brainz. The grand prize winner is Eileen Chase. Eileen Chase. The three runners up, who are getting a bag of Keto Brainz, the $50 bag, and then a Keto Brainz brass knuckle mug. We've got Theodore Kotick, Jeffrey D. Miller, and Cheryl Harper. So 4 winners tonight. And of course, use promo code MAY for Keto Brainz. For the end of this month, we're going to be giving away a gifting bundle, a red light face mask, copper peptide face serum. That pairs well with the mask, of course. And then 1 bottle of the BPC 157. That's $600 plus prize. And if you don't win it, you still have the best nootropic creamer/supplement ever in your cupboards. So ketobrainz.com, go use promo code MAY from here on in, or any other active Quite Frankly code, and I'll see you on the flip side. Thank you guys so much.
I'll catch you on the flip side.
Yeah. All right, everybody. All right. Well, it's good to have you in. Good to have you. And I will see you in just a few minutes. We're going into the lights go off, ladies and gentlemen. The link is in the chat room. And if you can't find the link, go to quitefrankly.tv and just press play. I'll be waiting for you, baby.
Just a little bit of a reminder, a word to the wise, if you will. Do not worry about the worries from yesterday. Leave it in the past. Move forward with confidence, because there are so many new things to be experienced today. New joy to be had. So move forward, be strong, and have a great rest of your day.